Good evening, everybody. It's another Quizzy Monday. We've got two brilliant guests coming on from Mastermind. We've got Rob and we've got Steve later on. We've got a couple of people from UK Quiz Bowl who are going to help us dissect University Challenge. In the middle of tonight's trivia trio, we had Only Connect. We had a classic episode, Champion of Champions. And it was great to see some familiar faces for those of you who've been long in the tooth around the quiz circuit, and very enjoyable. And for those of you who perhaps haven't been around for so long, yes, that was the Jenny Ryan from The Chase, just like last week was Mark Lebet. Who will be on next week? Who knows? Now, just to get you some updates, coming up on Friday, we are releasing an interview with Lynn Yu. Lynn runs a brilliant trivia newsletter called You Ought to Know, but she also has a fascinating history of the world of quiz in terms of going on shows, how she's prepared to go on shows, stories of success, stories of failure, just an all-round fascinating person. So look out for this interview with Lynn coming on to All Things Quiz on Friday. Now, we've just been notified by the people who run our online store that there is a sale going on until Thursday. So if you want to buy some All Things Quiz merch, go to tinyurl.com/ATQ store and use the code SPREADTHELOVE10 until Thursday. So chip in on that. And if you're one of the Mastermind level members of All Things Quiz, you can get another 10% on top of that. Winner of this week's What is the Question? The answer was Ruby, and this question by Andy Platt won. In an Only Connect star sequence question to do with days of the week, in song titles, what could come forth after Drive-In, Lazy and Blue? Well done, Andy. This week's answer in need of a question is Apple, and you can now vote on the long list at tinyurl.com/WITQ Apple. And don't forget, every day on Facebook and X, we have lunchtime quiz time. This is today's question: which internationally renowned Indian sitarist, not satirist as some people thought, sitarist and composer, has among his many honors and awards 5 Grammy Awards, including Lifetime Achievement Award, received at the 55th Annual Grammy Awards and the Bharat Ratna in 1999. So all that stuff going on. And in the chat, I can see some people have arrived already. Into Catherine and Gerard. So well done to all of you for coming along, and don't forget to put your comments in the chat. But now let us bring on our guests. We've got Rob and we've got Steve. Evening both.
Hi there. Hi Gareth.
Hello.
Well, I mean, I'm delighted you could come on tonight. I was thinking, well, with Rob Jones and Steve Dodding, bound to have the winner, but no, we don't have.
No.
We don't have George.
I don't want any spoilers, Gareth, but by coming on early with stories of failure, I mean, that's for next week, isn't it? Apparently.
Yeah.
But yeah. So but it was it's a very friendly fought contest. I thought we all got on very well, and I do think there was a worthy winner there, a very worthy winner. So
George played really well.
No complaints in that respect, at least.
Steve holding himself back really successfully right now. Before we get on to that, I thought George picked a very good subject in the Prose Edda, in that it's not actually that long and you can really nail it. I thought it was a brilliantly chosen specialist subject.
I didn't even know what it was.
No. I saw it written down on the folder that they showed us, and I had no idea what it was.
It's brilliant. Yes, it was just such a good topic to pick. When you're picking a subject, you want something that's got defined parameters. Now, you both had defined parameters for your subjects. Rob, Cheltenham Gold Cup 1960 to present. That's a long period of time. 60 odd races, all the runners, all the riders, all the trainers. What possessed you?
Clearly not quite all the trainers. Given my always something I've been interested in watching racing since I was yay high, and that era I can cope with because most of them are available to watch. There's lots of famous names from the 60s like Arkle and Pat Taff and Milhouse, and all of that was kind of already in. The main things were already in there anyway, so it wasn't too much of a chore to get the finer details. If you're going back pre then, and even pre-walks, it goes back to the 30s. It would be a lot of stuff to add to my already addled brain. So let's look at 1960 onwards. Was quite happy with the questions. Really, no complaints. Just
So,
a couple of things already to revise.
Yeah, and then you just thought you'd kind of build on that. And yeah, that's a pretty good approach. Steve, similar for you, the first decade of Genesis?
Yeah, I mean, it was my favorite decade. Everyone has their two sort of sides of Genesis. You know, the serious people like the first part, by the way. But still plenty to learn. But it was a lovely way of spending a couple of months sort of re-immersing yourself in your teenage heroes, as it were. You know, and I actually, one of the books I was reading was this guy's book of Genesis. One of the people who went to Charterhouse with the rest of them, Peter Gabriel and Tony Banks and Mike Rutherford, what have you, was the road manager. So I actually emailed him because he had his email address in the thing, and set up quite an email sort of discussion with him about it, which was really good fun. So who knows? You know, Phil might have been watching. You never know, do you? Might have been.
You never know. Or even Peter Gabriel, more excitingly.
Peter Gabriel. Well, there was a photo came up on Facebook of this guy, Richard McPhail, with Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins from about 2 or 3 weeks ago. You know, so they're all met, so they're all still mates and what have you, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed the whole thing actually. I thought the whole thing was great fun.
You both did really well on your subject. Rob, you got 10 out of 12, and Steve, you got 11 out of 12. Any regrets on the ones that you missed?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yes.
The one I got wrong. Do you know, it's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, my strategy for the whole thing was, if it didn't pop into your head straight away, just plow on. So say something and get on. But actually with that one, you probably see I hesitated quite a bit, because it was actually one of the ones I'd identified really early doors that would be a very, very likely question, you know? But it also overlapped with another one, which was a fairly similar thing in another B-side of a single back then, you know, and I just couldn't bring it into my head. So I just said the first thing that I could think of and thought, I'm going to move on. So I was quite disappointed about that, actually.
Yeah.
How about you, Rob?
That's a similar thing. I mean, one of the ones that I got wrong was about a sire of a couple of Gold Cup winners, and the breeding side of racing is not something that I know much about. And I thought for this, well, I'm not going to have to know the sire of every single winner, surely, but maybe just the sires of the notable names like Arkle, Desert Orchid, Corso Star, and any sire that has sired more than one Gold Cup winner, which is what came up. The problem was that when putting that revision together, I had totally missed that one.
They do, Joe, in a set, they do tend to throw a little spanner in, don't they? You know, so I reckon, you know, you probably could do like a fraction of the work and still get like 3/4 of them. But it's these ones, you know, they do throw them in, you know, and if you're trying to get the full house, then, you know, unfortunately, you're going to know them, haven't you?
But I was definitely with you in that, you know, I couldn't pull the name, so I just said a sire.
No. I mean, that happens, doesn't it? You know, I mean, it happens to the best of us all the time. You know, I can hardly remember the dog's name. You know, things like that. You know, forget things like that.
But when we're saying we're not usually under the time pressure that you're under in the chair, and also just the pressure of the day as well. So trying to.
Oh, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, we've all had that experience where the most obvious answer just won't pop into the head. But if you give yourself 10 seconds, 15 seconds, it comes. You don't have that luxury when you're sitting there, you know. It either does come into your head straight away. Sorry?
I don't see my general knowledge round for a couple of examples.
Yeah.
Apparently, your dog's name is Floss, Chris. Sorry, Steve, sorry.
No, my name's Steve, though. See,
Chris Dyson reminding you. I need reminding of your name.
No, Gareth, I can only accept your first answer, which brings me on to another point.
So you've got to be pleased with your.
I've got to be pleased with that.
We will get there, Steve.
Okay.
But did you do anything in the preparation this time round differently from first time round?
Me?
Oh, either of you.
Well, I didn't go and visit all the guys in Genesis's house. That would have been a bit.
But
stalky,
you did
wouldn't
stalk like one of their producers or something. So.
Well, I did stalk one. Well, yeah, it's their best mate, you know, the roadie he was. So, yeah, so I did sort of stalk him. But, yeah, I mean, it was totally different because the first one was all the cathedrals. And that's what I was saying before about how much I enjoyed the whole experience. That was just fantastic, you know. had sort of like 2.5 months of just going around the country looking at all these cathedrals, and I liked them anyway, so that's great. And the same, it was different with the Genesis one, because what I did, I think I said to you at the time, Rob, what I did was I recorded all the books that I needed. It took me about a week or more to actually record the book. So I did my own audio book, and then played it while I was walking the dog. So not only does the dog know about medieval cathedrals, but an absolute expert on prog rock now as well.
Did you do all the voices? Did you do like the Phil Collins accent? And
yeah, I did.
Gabriel
Yeah,
and Tony Banks.
Yeah. And this is Philip Bailey. He's coming. No, it wasn't in the remit. Yeah. So it was a completely different experience doing the second one. It was just basically, but the books were quite difficult. There's lots of tables, lots of concert lists I was learning and things like that. So in the end, the questions were actually quite basic and quite relatively straightforward given the amount of stuff I'd done. So I was quite happy with that, to be honest.
Yeah.
On that point, do you mind me saying this? That if people out there, any of you 2 listeners, viewers, fancy going on Mastermind, don't try and game it. Do something you're passionate about. That's what I would say. Do something you're passionate about, and you'll really enjoy it, and you won't regret it at all. Because let's be honest, the chances of actually winning the thing are very, very slim. So at least we can go away and think, well, we had a good time doing that. It was good fun, and I might have learnt a few things.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Sage
So,
advice there, Steve. Sage advice. Rob, do you do anything?
Well, thank you.
It's broadly similar to the first round for me, really. Just in terms of creating the lots of 300 to 400 revision cards. What's the word I'm after? Flashcards.
Flashcards. Yeah.
Getting Mrs. Jones to be Clive. And,
whatever they are, Gareth.
Yeah.
My wife, pretending to be the quiz master and just firing questions at me. Like I say, a lot of the facts were already in there. It was just getting the finer points in there as well. I think, strangely, stuff from the 80s and 90s, I'm a lot better with than the more recent stuff. One of the questions that I got there was about Paul Townend, the current Irish jockey, who's won about 3 of the last 5 Gold Cups, and all through that question, I've got his first name, and I can't get his inside. I'm trying to think of his surname, and it doesn't come until right at the end.
I could see that happening. It was great. That's always really nice. I think it's nice when you're watching it, you see it pop into someone's head. It's really good.
Yeah.
And what I did have this time, because when I was last here, Gareth, you asked me when I did the Billy Joel, were there any things that you were certain was going to turn up? And for that subject, no, there were too much of a widespread thing, but I didn't know. But here, I mean, despite the subject, I'm not a gambler, but if I was, there were things that I have put money on coming up, namely the first woman ride, the 5th horse of the Michael Dickinson first 5, and the banned substance and in Top Cottage's urine sample. I thought they were all going to come up, and then they did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's good predictions, and that lets me segue on before we move on to general knowledge to our predictions competition. So these were the most predicted answers that we had. So in your subject, Corto Star, which came up in one of the early questions and wasn't the answer line, Michael Dickinson, Norton's Coin, Tom Dreeper. Were any of those ones that came up in your work?
Well, Norton's Coin came up in a question because he was the longest price winner. The question was the odds. Yeah. Michael Dickinson did the amazing feat of training the first 5 horses in 83, but the question was about the 5th horse. Tom Draper trained Arkle, right? So that and Fort Leany as well. So I think you said that on Twitter that only one person scored a point.
Yeah, we did. What was the one? Do you remember, Valerie? I think we only got one. Valerie will come up with that in a second.
Interesting too.
But it was a tricky one. It played quite hard tonight for the predictors because we had, as you see, Denman.
Denman.
came-
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Nick Reed got that one, so he gets 2 points. But yes, people were all around them, but they weren't landing on the answers.
Yeah, it's nothing in my set. I mean, obviously, there's going to be things from. Well, there wasn't anything from Suppers really. There was something. They asked me who did the. It was the artist on the cover of Selling Them by the Pound, which is another one that I identified was going to be. That's an absolute cert. I thought.
Well, it's a nice variant, isn't it? It's something.
Yeah, it is. It is, rather than just asking about songs and things all the time. That's right.
Yeah. But it was a. I mean, these weren't all the predictions. These were just the most popular guesses. But it was a tricksy night. Let's have a look. Ed Mason got 5 points tonight. That puts him out in the lead, 2 points ahead of Philip Isaac, who got 3. Tim Hall, Tom Mead also got 3. Huang Yi, Ningbo, China, which is where he lives, came up in University Challenge tonight.
Did it? Good God.
And Nick Reed both scored points as well, which means the table, subject to audit and subject to protest, looks like this. Ed Mason now 2 points ahead of Philip Isaac. We're running out of episodes. It looks
all
like
to play for. All to play for.
Yeah, Michael McPartner's moved in 4th ahead of Pam Douglas. Tim Hall is still there strong, but it's probably a 2-horse race. Yeah. Next week's subjects, should anyone want to play, James I of Scotland, the television drama series Breaking Bad, World Athletics Championships from 2011 to present. See, Rob, you could have got away with 2011 to present.
Yeah.
The life
I could have got away with 1967 to 1968. That would have been even better.
You can submit your predictions to tinyurl.com/mm-predict-23.
Looking at the picture that's on the iPlayer, that is the game that was done before ours, I think. We went to studio.
Yeah, they mix them up, don't they?
They do.
I don't know why they mix them up, but they do.
Yeah. I don't know.
So,
maybe it's. I don't know.
So,
if they've got a bunch of close ones, maybe they want to spread them out. I don't know.
Yeah. So, Gareth, my phone keeps flashing with messages of people saying, "Surely you knew Wembley."
Well, I mean, let's move on to that, Steve. So, your first question was about the really, really large Northwest London Stadium.
Yeah, the one that's in West London, isn't it? Yeah.
People.
Yeah. Well, hang on a minute. Can I just take you back to that? Can I refer you to the other people's first questions? You know, the gimme first question in the general
Germany, Ben Nevis, and T.
Yeah, I would have loved any one of those, but I sat there. I mean, to make an excuse, because obviously, if that been a question anywhere else in the round, it's a very easy question, really. But on the first one, you sat down, you're expecting the straightforward one. That was quite involved. I was sat there thinking, this is going on a bit, this question, when it's usually sort of what's your name? But I've already done that one, so it wouldn't be very good. But that sort of thing, it's that sort of level of difficulty. The whole idea about the first question, isn't it, is that it just settles you in. They give you the answer. They give you a question, which everyone in the country is going to get you that. That's fine. But that one, I wasn't expecting it. It was going on. And I'd actually been chatting with a friend of mine who was a Spurs fan the week before about the new stadium. So that was in my mind. So I'm thinking, new stadium, 21st century. And I was thinking, well, there's Spurs, there's the Emirates. And I thought, the Emirates, this is all, it's all real time as he's asking the question. You think it's the Emirates as well. And I actually didn't think of Wembley, because immediately I always think Wembley's West London. I never think of it as North anywhere, really. It is, of course, so that's no real excuse. So that's what happened. And I was going through there, and I'd made my mind up to say Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, because I just couldn't think of anything better while the question was going on. And he finished it with the kicker, and the kicker has an attendance, a capacity of 90,000. And as I'm saying Tottenham, this is really all happening very quickly. I was just saying Tottenham, thinking that's the kick. Tottenham hasn't got a capacity of 90. Oh, it's Wembley. So Rob, I hope will back me up on this. I went Tottenham Wembley. I went Tottenham Wembley like that, and Clive Myrie looks up and goes like that and smiles, and it all stops. Everything stops. Right. And I'm sat there for, it probably was only a few minutes, but it felt like 10. You sat there in the spotlight in the black chair. And eventually the floor manager comes down, or the question editor, I'm not sure who it was. And she said, you did actually say Tottenham first. And I said, well, I think I only said the first part of Tottenham and then changed my mind. And she said, no, we've had a look at it upstairs and we think you said the whole word. And I said, well, okay. I said, what are you going to do? You not, don't tell me you're going to ask me to go back and give the wrong answer. He said, yeah, I'm afraid we're going to have to. So I said, surely it must make, I mean, Rob will say, because I was not actually taking it lying down. And it's very easy to do that in the circumstances because you're very vulnerable out there, you know, and these guys are telling you, and I'm saying, well, hang on. I reckon I changed my mind before I said the whole of the rest answer. And besides that, Clive Murray hasn't given me the answer. You know, he's not said, no, it's Wembley or what have you. No, he didn't correct me or anything like that. I'd said it in time, in my view. What I should have said, was, the answer Tottenham makes no sense whatsoever because that's not a stadium. The whole answer was Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So I didn't say the whole answer. I corrected myself before I'd even said the word Tottenham. So anyway, by the by, that's my big whinge. But having said that, regardless of the fact they might have given me the point, but that's me fucked up then, basically, at that particular point in time. You know, I've been sat there for 10 minutes. I'm now already a point behind a guy I know is excellent, you know, sort of thing. So you're 2 points behind already, and you're playing catch up, and then you get a couple of hard ones, and then you start forgetting things. That's my excuse anyway, and I'm sticking with it. So there you go. But yeah, I mean, it might sound a bit churlish, but I just thought that I didn't think they were very balanced, those first questions. I just thought that was, you know. I know you can sit there. I mean, everyone in the country shouting Wembley at the TV. I know that, you know, but nonetheless, it wasn't the sort of question I felt was, you know, absolute gimme. You know, it didn't say something like Wembley, the home of the national football team, Twin Towers, or formerly where England won the World Cup. That's the sort of level you'd expect. But they're asking me about a redeveloped stadium in the 21st century, and there are 3 of them. And yeah. Anyway,
well,
and
Gerard is saying, being honest, yours was the only first question I didn't get. And overall, Chris is saying I scored fewest on Steve's set, as did I when I went through. Does it? You said, you know, after you get something like that.
Oh, this sounds very whingy, and I don't mean it to at all.
No,
but clearly those sort of things play on your mind, and
well, does it affect your clarity of thought through the rest of the round? Is there still something
you're panicking
away at you?
Well, all I'd say was that in the first one where I got 29, everything was going swimmingly, and then I started getting ones I didn't think I'd get right, and they just popped into my head. Whereas if you're under that sort of pressure and you're already sort of fighting back, it becomes more difficult, I think. And, you know, so stupid mistakes I was making there, you know, so Geneva, a capital city and stuff like that, you know, was not very good. So, yeah, that was a bit disappointing. But, no, I've got no complaints. I think, and Rob will agree, the best guy won there. There's no doubt about it. He had a very solid performance, and you know, I hope he does well in the final as well. I have no idea what went on, but you know, be nice if he.
We were all, the other 3 of us at the side, we were all obviously talking about it, and we were all, you know, hopeful you would get the point, Steve. And
well, thanks, Rob. That's very decent of you. I mean, that's true. I know.
You know, we were all there to try and do our best, but we support each other as well. And
absolutely. You don't want things like that to happen, do you? You want it to go smoothly and what have you, and no hiccups, and not to give me any excuses, you know, to to blame my poor performance on. But you know, I did really feel that sort of messed me up a bit. You know, that thing at the beginning, just, you know, you don't want that to happen. You know, I think the worst thing in the world is to get the first question in the general knowledge round on Mastermind wrong. Actually, that's the one thing you fear, isn't it? It's like I voted off first in the weakest link, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I mean, I think the only thing worse than that is getting the first of your specialist subject ones wrong, which is, but Brendan says 2021-22 grand final had its share of interruptions while answers were investigated. Very tough for the contestants. Concentration can go so easily. And Gerard is saying that sort of thing will really take your head out of the zone. It can do.
It's very nice of you.
You want to get into a flow, don't you? And into the zone and just keep answering.
You say that, it sounds trite, doesn't it? But it's a genuine thing. I think momentum in these things is a really genuine thing. You know, I find it anyway, that, you know, if you're just on a good run, then the run sort of continues somehow, and you start getting the ones. Oh, like the other one. I'm sorry, I was just going on about this a lot, but the other one, and this is a classic, isn't it? That at the time, the fact that Scott Mills took over from Steve Wright, it was reasonably well known, but not very well known. And then Steve Wright goes and dies before the transmission, and it's literally all over the media. Scott Mills on going, "I'm so delighted to have taken over from Steve," and all that sort of thing, you know. So that sort of thing can happen on quiz shows as well, where something goes from being not quite so well known to being very, very well known, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, Steve could have waited, couldn't he? Really, for weeks just to,
he was a very nice man by all accounts. I'm not blaming Steve Wright.
No, I think you're right. You know, when you were looking at how your round panned out, there was a sticky patch, Paul Mescal, Paris, Horace, sort of thing that just completely breaks up your rhythm. Rob, you had a similar. Sorry.
No.
Rob, you had a
Let
similar.
Rob say something.
Fondrasova, Asteroid, Ruth Ozeki, that sort of.
The Ruth Ozeki thing is not good for someone who works in a library. And has shelved that book several times. But it was never coming to me, so I just said another author. The Asteroid one, I just lost the thread of the question, because I think I ended up saying Uranus purely on the fact that I'd heard Herschel. And
it's always good to say Uranus, I think, on any quiz
I said
show.
Uranus on telly, yes.
Yeah. Be childish, nothing else.
And looking at it back, and actually both on the special and the general knowledge, the all questions are totally different to how I remember this.
Yeah.
And that's not editing. That's just the mind playing tricks.
Yeah. And it really does. Your memory is really odd when it comes to looking back at something you filmed like that. You remember certain things, and other things are just absolutely news to you. It's like, oh, I got that right. Oh, I was asked that. It's a very weird thing, watching yourself back. So both of you got over 20. Steve, this was your first time in a Mastermind semi. Rob, had you been on Mastermind before?
No, first time.
Semi-final, both of you first time out, which is pretty darn good. Would you consider going through it all again? Definitely,
I would. Love to. Absolutely love, but my time there, both times. With the quizzing and
3 years, isn't it?
And then Fratton. Have I frozen?
Is it 3 years, Gareth? Is it 3 years before you go back and do it?
2 years generally, but who knows? It depends on how many people they've got applying.
I'm not sure. Actually, I would bother. Hello.
Yeah. So I thought you were like mic drop. I'm not sure I would bother. Boom, gone. In fact, I'm not quite sure why I'm bothering tonight.
No, I'll take what happened. Actually, I'll take what happened on that, because I'm not going to beat my first round performance. I mean, that's not showing off. I mean, that's just it's not going to happen. I mean, that would never happen if I went and did it 100 times. That was just very, very fortunate. So I'll take that away, and I'm very pleased with that. And the second round was it didn't seem as bad as I remembered it on the telly. Actually, I thought I was getting loads of questions wrong, but at least they were giving some answers and what have you. So it didn't feel as dreadful as I thought at the time.
And you were able to throw out Fidelio right at the end, like a quizzer.
Oh, that was the end, was it? Yeah. Don't insult me with Beethoven's Only Opera, Clive. Goodbye. Flounce out the studio.
Now, Rob, you said you'd do it again, but you were telling us before we came on air that you were asked to be a standby for the final. How does that work?
I got a call a couple of days after the semi-final recording block was over, saying that I was one of the top scoring runners-up, and would I consider being on standby for the final in case anyone pulled out for whatever reason. Now, having seen the first semi-final where two people were runner-up on 24 points, I don't know whether they had many people on standby, or whether that some people declined the invitation and they just kept going down the list until they got people who would do it. But I said I would, but that meant I had to obviously revise a new subject, possibly slightly half-heartedly, because you know you're probably not going to be needed, but there's that small chance. So you need to do well enough that you're not going to disgrace yourself if you do. Did
you have anything in mind? Well, I don't like to give anything away just in case you do it, but
no, I will say I wasn't called up for the final, so that's fine. No, because I mean the subject, it was, there had been some discussion. I don't know if you had this, Steve, some discussion with them as to what your subject would be for the final if you got there.
No, they weren't talking to me afterwards.
This was even before the game. There was I had some discussion about what I might do final if I got there.
But yeah, they usually try and agree. It's a tricky situation, as you say. I mean, I was reserved for grand final, and it is that sort of, yes, you want to be playing the grand final, but you haven't really got the time to devote to it. You want to do yourself justice. But actually, it's lots of conflicting things. Did you feel a bit of relief when they told you to stand down, or were you a little bit gutted?
I didn't think I was going to get there, so it wasn't a problem. I wasn't too disappointed. I mean, but they only told me just about on the morning of the filming. I'm not sure how they got me over to Belfast in a couple of hours if they'd have needed me. But
well, they told you that you were standby on the morning of the. Oh, they told you weren't standby on the morning.
I wasn't required.
You weren't going to be on it. Okay. How long did they give you to actually, research your specialist subject then? When did they tell you?
They called me pretty much. So we filmed on the Friday, didn't we?
Okay. Yeah.
And then the Monday, pretty much afterwards, they called.
Oh well, that's not too bad because the research time goes down, the study time goes down each round. So the first one you get about 2.5 months, then it goes down to about 2 months, and then it goes down to like 5 or 6 weeks, I think, for the final. So it's a heck of a lot of work to do in that time if you want to cover all the bases, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I could have gone and given a decent account of myself had I gone there, but I wasn't as ginned up as I had been for the previous 2 rounds.
Well, hopefully now you're ahead of the game next time you go on, that you've got
maybe
half the work done on a subject. So,
but as you say, 3 years.
Yeah. Well, you see, you never know. So when I was the reserve, they called me back 2 years afterwards, saying basically, either you come on and do this subject, or we'll let somebody else have it. And it's like, I'm coming on then. I'm not letting all that work go to waste.
I was wondering that. Yeah. Set already made up.
What's true for me is that I, as I said, I think last time, I always wanted to be on Mastermind, but never had the bottle to do it. It always seemed to be an awful lot of work and a lot of downsides, and a great, massive possibility of making a fool of yourself on the TV as well. So it just feels like a massive box ticked for me. I'm just really pleased to have done it, and kind of more or less got away with it, I think. But so I'm not that interested in doing it again.
Well, we will see what the future brings. But well done for getting to semi-finals, and thank you both for coming on.
Yeah, thanks.
Quizzy Monday. Really appreciate you.
Thanks, Gareth. Nice to see you again, Rob.
Light on and so we're going to play a quick video, and when we come back, we'll be talking University Challenge. But once more, thank you to Rob and Steve. Cheers.
Cheers.
Goodbye.
Cheers. Bye-bye now.
There's so much going on in the quiz world, it can be really hard to keep on top of it all. Let us do it for you with the All Things Quiz newsletter. News from All Things Quiz and from the wider world of quiz delivered to your inbox every Tuesday. Sign up at allthingsquiz.com or scan this QR code. Now, there's actually one more video that I want to play, which is a thank you to our patrons. We've had a couple of patrons join in the last couple of days. They aren't featured on here, but they will be on the next one. But our patrons help support the channel, and this is our little thank you to them. Huge thanks to our community of All Things Quiz members. Your support helps us to keep this channel going. It pays for essential running costs. Now, if you want to become a member of All Things Quiz, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/allthingsquiz. And from £3 a month, you not only get to support the work of this channel, but there are a range of member benefits available, including our monthly quiz. Hope to see you soon. And our monthly quiz was yesterday, and it was won by Gerard, who is in the chat somewhere. Well done, Gerard. It was a smartphone quiz, and Gerard showed some very fleet fingers on that one. Now, let us bring on Thomas Hart and Oscar O'Flanagan. Evening, both.
Hello.
Hello, Gareth.
Hi, good to have... Well, Thomas, you've been on the show before, at least when you did Quizzer and a Reasonably Simple Quiz the other year. I don't know if we chatted properly on it, but...
Not properly, but I've made small cameos in between.
Exactly. And welcome on, Oscar. Now, both of you are involved with UK Student Quiz Bowl.
Yeah.
And you've got a massive tournament coming up at the weekend. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so it's the British Student Quiz Championships. It's, I guess, the one that's it's hyped up the most within Student Quiz, I guess. Everyone crams into Imperial College, plays 11 rounds of quiz, and it's the only one where we actually have a trophy. So
yeah, national champion at the end of it.
Yeah. So it's Quiz Bowl format, which is like University Challenge. Which people will know. What's the difficulty like compared to something like University Challenge?
So compared to it's.
Well, I guess
it's strange. I think I do better on University. I think I do better watching along University Challenge at least, but
it's broadly.
It's meant to be it's meant to be fairly hard by Quiz Bowl standards, but it is like it's a lot more British content than people might expect with Quiz Bowl because we edit the questions, make it more suitable for UK audience.
Yeah.
So it ends up being pretty approachable even for people who are fairly new to Quiz Bowl.
And to some consternation by some teams, although this has always been the case for the SQC, there is a fairly sizable, certainly by Quiz Bowl standards, pop culture distribution. So 2 starters and 2 bonus sets a packet, which is more than you would normally get in a standard Quiz Bowl set.
In terms of teams, Thomas, are they the same universities and colleges that we see represented on University Challenge, or do we see some different ones? And do we see familiar faces that people might know?
Yeah, there will be familiar faces. So one of the things that makes BSQC unique among all the Quiz Bowl tournaments that is UKQB run in the UK, it's the only one that requires qualification. So we had an event back in January where a bunch of teams basically all over the course of a weekend all piled onto various Zoom calls and answered a series of Quiz Bowl bonuses. And from then, the top 15 teams of those qualified for BSQC, on top of which were the top 5 teams from the previous year's BSQC. And then we gave out 4 extra spots for wildcards. So for teams, we're mostly going to various A teams that didn't manage to qualify, and a couple of B teams. I think the other ones went to
Bristol B.
Yeah, Bristol B was the other one. So, it is a lot of the familiar faces, the big names. So Cambridge qualified 4 teams this year, only team to do so. I think we've got 3 Oxford teams, 3 Imperial teams, I think 2 Durham and 2 Edinburgh, 2 Warwick, 2 Bristol. And then the rest are, if I can just...
LSE, Southampton, Manchester, King's College London.
Birmingham.
Birmingham, yes.
I think that's... So that's the lineup this year. It's a very strong field. I think there are certainly 5, at least 5 teams with a very good shot at winning the title. It's certainly most of them won either open.
It's never been like that before. But for most of the 2010s, it was like, okay, it's probably Oxford, and then Cambridge started winning a few things. Let's go, okay, maybe Cambridge, Oxford, and then when Everlynch was at that Southampton, they were a contender, and then last year Imperial won, and now Oxford is the only one of those that hasn't actually won a tournament this year.
Wow.
So we have no idea who's going to win.
Pretty
unprecedented.
It's wide open. Personally, my money's on Durham, but it could be any of those 5, and maybe some other team will.
But this says an awful lot about the health of student quizzing right now, because not so many years ago there wasn't even a UK Quiz Bowl circuit or anything like that going on, and over the last few years, the organisation has really stepped up. It's fostered different quizzing in different universities as well. I mean, how would you see student quizzing growing in the next few years based on what UK Quiz Bowl are doing and how things have been going?
I'd say it's you might get. I'd expect a couple more university teams, but I think the main difference has been a lot of societies they've gotten a lot deeper. Like the Imperial would not have sent 3 teams, Durham would not have sent more than 1 team, and now we get 3 teams from Imperial, 3 teams from Warwick, 3 teams from Durham. Like even Bristol originally submitted 4 teams into the qualifiers.
Yeah, I think almost every team that could tried to submit the full 4 teams, which they could have achieved at the qualifiers, which I think just shows just how much enthusiasm there is on the circuit at the moment.
But it's also, I think, because Manchester and Southampton weren't on last year, so I think we have to sort of be careful, try not to lose lose any teams. Oxford Brookes used to be regular, but they haven't shown up in a while now.
Yeah, and there were worries that Southampton would have gone the same way without having Lynch. But I mean, we'll credit in particular to Jamie Birchett, and some others who've done some really good stuff in getting Southampton Quiz Stock back on its feet. And we're delighted to have them back at BSQC this year.
And that's been a historical vulnerability of student quizzing, that you have people there for a while who are very active, but if they leave, in the case of Oxford Brookes, I don't know if he's left, but Ian Bailey was involved in running the society there, and Stephen Pearson up in Manchester, you said Evan in Southampton. If they leave and you haven't got that succession planning, then you can often kind of lose that momentum, which I guess is where UK Quiz Bowl can come in, because at least that's a relatively constant point of contact between the university and quizzing. Yeah,
and I think certainly in the past year that there's been a big effort by UKQB to increase interaction between the societies. In particular, this is something that Michael Cohn, our president, had very much pushed. At the start of the year, we created a new Discord server just for students, and I think that's been a phenomenal success in just increasing the amount of interaction between student societies. I'm regularly interacting with students on there who I've, in some cases, never met in person, or would only ever see very briefly at tournaments. If we were playing, I think certainly in the past year, I felt a greater sense of community from the circuit than I have in any time. Certainly in any of the previous years I've been doing, especially when it was online. It was all awful in the COVID years.
Yeah, I mean, things are, say, in rude health, probably the best health in my time in quizzing, which is pushing 20 years. This is the most healthy the student quizzing scene has looked. But there are plenty of universities who don't get onto University Challenge and probably aren't playing UK Quiz Bowl circuit. So if they wanted to get involved, who should they contact? How does a university or college get involved with what you do?
I'd say the first point of call should be emailing UK Quiz Bowl, contact@quizbowl.co.uk. Say they are interested in Quiz Bowl, they're interested in setting up a society. Obviously, the best thing that they can do on their end is start a quiz society at their university. Absolutely. That's probably 80% of it. And it's a shame because some universities make this really difficult. We want to, like, UCL and KCL have tried to set up societies, but it's just it's so restrictive. You have to get like 50 signatures from players. It's stupid. So, but even KCL, King's College London, has been ticking along in the past couple of years without a society. So it is possible. It's just they can contact UK Quiz Bowl. Just getting involved in the community, getting to know people at other universities who do it, I think is a big part of it.
Yeah. Okay, well that's fantastic. Well done to everybody involved in UK Quiz Bowl. If you're watching this on catch up, we will put a link to UK Quiz Bowl in the description, so anybody can find that who wants to and can see what's happening. So we've got the championships coming up on, is it Saturday?
Yeah, Saturday.
College. When that's all over and the winner's crowned, will we be seeing any video of that? Because one of your past finals is one of the most watched quiz episodes of anything.
We have no idea what's driving that.
I've got the we are planning on recording it. I mean, the 2019 final was recorded professionally, although the audio isn't great. The 2023 final was recorded on Enoch Ewan's phone. this time we've got proper recording equipment.
Yeah,
We're hoping we
invested
can
a
make
lot of money into good equipment over the past year.
So we've had a bit of practice with it. We did film a play. We filmed one game at ACF Regionals as a sort of practice, which maybe that'll be on the YouTube channel if I can be bothered to edit it.
Yeah, we are sitting on a backlog of videos we do need to get out.
There is quite a backlog, actually.
Yeah, I will say.
Well, yeah. I mean,
so hopefully
I will say once the final is field, we will need to wait for the base set because BSQC isn't British written, it's an adaptation of American set, so we will need to wait for the American set to be cleared to be posted.
It's NAQT, so we'll have to. It's technically it never gets cleared, but we'll have to ask them for permission, like they did with 2019 and the Oxford versus Cambridge final.
This
I guess it's
Oxford v Cambridge, Imperial v Durham. Who knows? Edinburgh v maybe. I mean, I hope Warwick makes the final. You know, I want to be in the NPC final, but we'll see. It'll depend on the questions and how people perform on the day.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, we look forward to when it does get cleared and it's put online, seeing that, and let us know the link, and we'll share that in our newsletter and through our channels so that people can experience it, because the standard is phenomenally good. The matches are exciting, and it's great to see say what's happening in student quizzing right now. Talking of which, we had University Challenge tonight. That was a very odd match, I guess, or is it odd? I mean, Trinity just kind of went off like a train. UCL couldn't get in. It got to a point where they were buzzing very early just to try and get in, and then negging. It was a very odd match. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought UCL were playing I'm sure watching back they can think they're surely thinking, oh, we should have got that, we should have got that. I think they probably could have done. I mean, they won against an excellent team, but I'm sure they're thinking they just could have had those, especially the first couple ones, like Mew and Lorca. I think you could just see them. Well, I think the Lambda neg was a bit unfortunate, but Lorca, I think I could see Ali Isidus milliseconds behind them. So it's just like that shaky start and then Trinity pulling away, and that gives a certain impression to the match.
I mean, I knew ahead of time what the result of this match was going to be.
Yeah, me too, actually.
But when we're at Temerton, I'm thinking, am I just misremembering? Do Trinity win this game? It's like, I thought, there's no way they're coming back from this. But then, they just really set the afterburners on.
Yeah, it was
a brilliant game.
It was quite incredible. I have to say, I was very impressed by Yaxina from Trinity, both in terms of buzzes, but also some of the conferring answers that they were giving on bonuses. It was just, I mean, it was superb play. In fact, let's face it, there were two very good teams out there.
Yeah.
And the good thing about this is neither of them are going home, so we do get to see Trinity again. What do you think is kind of the composition of an effective Quiz Bowl or University Challenge team? We saw with Trinity that everybody got in with buzzes, everybody had a role. Is that what you're looking for when you're picking a team?
Yeah, I think ultimately it's not the best individuals, it's the best team that is what matters. I think part of the reason why the Imperial A team that won BSQC last year was so basically dominant on the circuit. I think they won like 7 or 8 tournaments on the trot or something. Was that it was very much a team that was greater than some of its parts. Like Justin Lee, Adam Jones, who are on this year's team, Imperial team there on UC, Michael Mays, who won a couple of series, good QN. All 4 of them are amazing, but amazing quizzes individually, but together, like all their niches just do not coincide that much at all. And that's something you very much want in a good team, is the broadest and deepest subject coverage you can imagine.
And also they're friends.
Yeah,
that's
an important part of it.
Yeah. I think that's an overlooked part of team dynamics, isn't it? That kind of, knowing that there's some forgiveness there because they're your friends if you make an error, and you can just then focus on the next question rather than dwelling on some sort of negative reaction from somebody. And UCL had to deal with that because, as you said, they were 95 minus 10 at one point, and with average scores of 200, it's like they're halfway there and we're only a third way through the match. How do you stop your heads dropping when you're UCL in that situation, Oscar? How do you make sure that you don't do like panic buzzes, that you don't do anything crazy, but that you get yourself back into the game?
I'd say maybe they remember that one time in a match they came back from an amazing deficit or something in Quiz Bowl or something. I don't know. It's I guess the one way of putting it is, imagine if they alternated every buzz, but instead of alternating every buzz, it's in one half they get one team gets all the buzzes, and in the other half they get all the buzzes. It's really just about the ordering, and you just, as long as you remember that, you just think, okay, something better will come along. Just put that behind us.
Yeah, I do think certainly in a Quiz Bowl context, that is very much an easy frame of mind to teach yourself to get into. Because obviously, this isn't really the case in YouTube. Certainly in Quiz Bowl, there's going to be one music question. There's going to be 3 or 4 history questions. There's going to be 3 or 4 literature questions. So you know that your niche will come up eventually. You just need to wait. And I think that's a very important part of it. Certainly, I can't speak to the other 3 members here, but Ali is just a very experienced Quiz Bowl player. He played it throughout his undergrad at Oxford, still managed to chip in a bit while he's doing some maths at UCL. He's a fellow member of the UK QB committee, and I think having someone on your team who has that experience, who's able to keep head on shoulders and kind of reassure the other members of the team, it's very helpful. And that's not to discredit the other members of the team, like Jacob Finley and James Hall were incredible on the buzzer in the last half of that game.
Yeah. Yes, it really was. People kind of found that sweet spot. We've got an interview. We talked about it at the start of the show with Lin Yu coming up. We're releasing on Friday. But she talks about her experience on Jeopardy at one point thinking, the game doesn't want me to play. She just couldn't get in no matter what she did, and kind of felt like, somehow something was shutting her out. And then that changed. And it felt like that was the sort of kind of momentum shift that UCL had. Gerard's saying, look forward and don't look back. Yeah. And when we're talking about negative reactions, Ashling says Justin Lee is unable to have negative reactions.
Oh no, he is
one of the most cheerful persons I've ever met.
I mean, we've had him on the show a couple of times. A lovely chap. Yeah, I guess it is how you carry yourself in that match. How you try and keep that positive mindset. Think my time will come. If I'm being beaten by a fraction of a second, I can beat them by a fraction of a second. It's just how the game goes.
And I guess I don't know if this is the case for those, particularly knowledge of the history as well. Because I know people have been asking, is this the greatest comeback in UC history? The answer is no. The biggest one that I know of was, I can't remember what exact series was, when Richard Gilbert, who's now on the Producers University Challenge, when he won with the University of Manchester in their first round match by the music
2012 to 13, I think it was.
Something like that. Yeah,
they were on like minus 15, and then they won by 5 points.
By the half, they were on negative scores by the music round. And they came back, won their game by 5 points, and then went on to win the entire series.
Yeah.
And that's done before it can be done again.
But that, I guess, is when we're talking about experience, and Oscar, I think you said about, you've been in that situation before and you've come back. When you're a team like Manchester in that situation, and they've got Stephen Pearson, who was managing the team at that time, and he's been there, done that. He's taken teams through every possible scenario. I guess having things that don't, when it's not a surprise, you know how to deal with it. You're not being taken aback by it. You just think, oh, this is scenario C that we're dealing with, the one where we have to come back, as opposed to the one where we're in the lead and we have to not blow it or whatever. I find that kind of mindset in the middle of a match interesting, because most quizzes have kind of felt that feeling of things slipping away from them, particularly if you do buzzer quizzes. And equally, you felt that euphoric moment where you're just on a roll and you can't do anything wrong. And it's, I guess it's about channeling the right stuff. So UCL did come through, picked up the lead about 3 starters out from the end. Were there any questions or any buzzes that you were particularly impressed with tonight?
I kept track for the first few, and then I forgot the rest.
All right.
I'm just trying to remember. Like, there were a few. I'm a mathematician, but they're basically all biology and chemistry is completely incomprehensible to me. So like when Ryan Kang's buzzing on nucleophilic substitution, like,
Oh yeah.
what's that? I don't know. I don't get that. That's amazing.
Can I ask actually? Can I ask your opinion? There was Henderson buzzed in to pick up. There'd been a neg, I think, on the question about the Zoological Society of London, and she said London Zoo, which is what was founded by, well, co-founded by Raffles. It's now Zoological Society of London. Did you feel that was a sound judgment, judgment called by the producers, or an iffy one? Or I mean, because it didn't make the difference in the end.
Much because one is that the opening just felt like what in Quizball terms you would term neg bait, just like Stanford Raffles. Certainly, I would have done what I would have just instantly buzzed for Singapore.
But
even when
I was watching with Justin Lee, and he also said, "Boom, Singapore."
Yeah,
didn't get it.
But then she buzzes in with and says London Zoo, and they go no ZSL. If they'd have given that, then this could have been a very different match. That's 10 points and a bonus set they get. They lose by 15. Ifs and buts and all that sort of thing. But for me, it felt like, I would probably have erred on the side of giving it, but maybe I'm a bit too generous. Maybe I'm a bit too soft.
It felt a bit harsh.
It depends on the exact wording of the question.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
I don't remember if they asked for it being known as ZSL.
They mentioned the acronym in the question, so I think it was probably the right decision. But I need to have a look at the text of the question again.
Yeah,
I mean, certainly this is personal for me. In Warwick's game against Trinity in the second round of this series, Abby Karapang-Pasakti buzzed on the question. The answer was where they wanted caramel. They had specified a 7-letter word. Abby said caramelization.
Yeah,
and that's what cost us the game.
Yeah.
So if they're consistently strict, then fair enough.
Consistent decision, but it was just watching that live was awful.
Yeah, I mean, Brendan's saying quite right to disallow, and London Zoo and Zoological Society of London, different things. I guess in that London Zoo is part of ZSL, but just like Whipsnade is part of ZSL, and there will be others. So maybe it was the right judgment. I guess it's the sort of thing that, in the heat of the moment, are you second guessing when you're giving your answer what they're looking for, and that's tricky. So I felt for her because that could have been the game. That could have been the game in the other direction. But Ashling saying,
when you've got two teams, it's going to be fine margins either way.
So consensus was correct decision by the question team. Well done on the adjudication. I thought there was some. I was really impressed by actually the surrealism buzz. Well, actually, I think later. Bulgaria, nice early buzz on Lorca. There was Triangle of Sadness for Finley. It was just one of those matches where actually you see great buzzes all over the place. Both teams playing well. Francis Bacon by Banerjee, I thought was great buzz. About bonuses, any bonuses you loved?
Well, there was a very relatable bonus when it comes up on genetics, and Jeremy was like, "Ah, yes." and then they get one of it, and that's happened so many times with me.
Yeah,
it's like, yes, it's on the area, and I only got one of them.
Yeah, certainly. Warwick, we always sort of dread getting maths questions coming up because we have very much a reputation Quizball for fielding teams very high in mathematicians. For example, our team at BSQC on this weekend, 3 math students and someone who's doing a joint maths and statistics degree, and I can almost guarantee we will miss maths questions.
Yeah.
And especially, if I were to be on UC, that is the one thing I do not want to happen. You get a maths question wrong, but it always will happen.
I always find you
so much in that moment.
Gerard's put we had a tough music set, and obscure contemporary jazz. That was a point where I thought this is not going to be UCL's day because they've finally got a buzz, and then their bonus set is obscure contemporary jazz. It's like, oh my god, you must be cursing your luck if you're UCL at that point.
That seems to have happened a few times in this series so far. There's been popular music. There was a game with Open where they, I think, got 0, and then Imperial when they got the music round against Manchester as well. I think also went for 0.
That was quite hard set. Although I do find it mildly funny that the long-running Quizball in joke of if they want to rap it, it's usually Kendrick Lamar has once again been vindicated. But that was a very brutal bonus set, I would say.
Yeah, it was.
I did feel certainly the first half of tonight's game was actually very hard.
Yeah.
Like, certainly some of the stuff I was nowhere near, but I do think it certainly got easier as the game went through.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly from my perspective, others who are strong on things that I'm not strong on may disagree, but that was certainly my perception.
Yeah. I guess it's weird how sets can be balanced like that. I suppose what you want, if I was constructing a quiz like this, you would want some drama at the end, and you don't get too much drama if people aren't buzzing in and getting answers and aren't scoring points. You want that comeback to be possible. You want buzzes to be possible. So maybe you might soften the second half of the quiz personally, potentially. I don't know if they did or not. I was just, very impressed with what I saw. In terms of the series as a whole, now you probably know stuff like who wins and things, so please don't reveal that. But of what we've seen thus far, who have been your standout teams and standout players?
I mean, I guess I would say it's hard to do this because obviously I'm biased. I know a lot of them.
I'd say
playing Quiz Bowl, but
the
Imperial
Birkbeck
have been strong. Like Justin and Adam Jones are incredible Quiz Bowl players, and that has translated to the show. And the other two members of their team are doing very well. So they were obviously UCL tonight, despite them knocking us out. Trinity have been very good. Like most of the quarterfinals have been very good, and also there were a few teams knocked out in the second round that I think, had they had a nicer draw, would have done very good things. Like Lincoln College, Hartford College, Oxford. And I would probably say Warwick as well.
And Warwick, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, think of that. It just makes it. We've had so many tight games with Trinity, and so I'd say based on the teams that have people I don't know from Quiz Bowl or quizzing, like Birkbeck and Sheffield, I think were quite standouts. Because I hadn't known most of the people from the team. I mean, I knew Matthew Nail had done a few Quiz Bowl matches before, so I recognized him. But it was like it was cool to see.
Yeah, seen Danny McMillan in action. Lovely chap and great quizzer. Was on our show last week, I believe. They all merge into one the weeks. Well, it's great. We've got a lot to look forward to in the remainder of the series. There's some brilliant teams in, some brilliant players. Well done to UCL for quite the comeback tonight. A thrilling episode. It shows how exciting, when people say quizzing isn't sport, you see something like this. It's a thrilling comeback, a thrilling duel between two teams. I really enjoyed it. Thomas and Oscar, thank you so much for coming on. And best of luck if you're competing, and in fact, all the competing teams on Saturday. We'll We'll follow on Twitter, I guess. Will that be the place to see results, or will it be Facebook?
That's a good question, actually.
We should probably live blog stuff on Twitter.
I'll
be moderating, so I might be able to do that.
Question for who's that? I guess that's a question.
Jacob is the social media officer.
We will look out for it no matter where it is, and we'll try and share what we can via the All Things Quiz channels. But thank you both for coming on. I'm going to run through the news from the world of quiz. You're welcome to stay on if you'd like whilst we chat about this, or disappear. But for now, thank you both. Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Oscar. So now, last week's Quizzer of the Week was Victoria Gross for winning the International Culture Challenge. She beat into second place Evan Lynch, and he was second in that ICC. He also had a great week, full house in OQL. He's just a great player. Annie Hodgkinson, who won her semi-final of Counterpoint, was third. Team of the Week was No Hat Mafia, who won the Connections Online Quiz League Crossbond Challenge. Birkbeck was second for their University Challenge win, and Chaotic Good Milf Hotel of OQL USA were third. This week's nominees, there's a lot of them. Andrew Sharda won the semi-final of Counterpoint. I think the final is next week now. George Twigg won the semi-final of Mastermind. And I mentioned earlier, Gerard won the All Things Quiz Members Quiz. Some national titles were decided in the last week or so. Issa Schultz, the super nerd from the Chase in Australia, won the Australian Quiz Championship. Sebastian Jacobi, also a chaser in Germany, won the German Quiz Championships. And Stefan Löwe won the German Buzzer Quiz Championship. Into quiz leagues and other events, the Serbian Open was won by Lucian Sosic. Evan Lynch had another good week. When doesn't he have a good week? I mean, you guys have played against Evan, or I assume you have.
I did for the first time at Cambridge Oxford Open.
quite how good is he in the flesh?
I mean, he's just extremely good. Like my team had a very good coup. We ended up coming like joint third, I think it was in the end. But when we played Evan's team, we just got steamrolled. Like, yeah. I mean, the rest of his team, credit to them, like Alex Peplow, George Charleston, Ollie Clark, are all phenomenal quizzes. But added to those three, Evan, who is just like, I think he was topped by a substantial margin in the final scores. He is just a good on another level. Yeah,
there's something about the way he'll buzz whilst you're still trying to process what you're hearing. He'll give out an incredibly difficult answer and then casually note something down in his notebook. And it's kind of back, and it's like, no kind of reaction, no kind of... the guy's a machine, and he's brilliant. And he won the OQL individual championship for February. He's won, I think, every single one of these OQL written quizzes. And he got a full house in OQL. He's just, across every format, is a superb player. Ian Bailey got 7 out of 8 in Quiz League of London. That was the highest 2-point haul in QLL. Dave Lee, Catherine Johnson, and Kashava Guhar got 6 out of 8 in QLL President's Cup, which is the hardest format of QLL. Richard Brook, who we saw a couple of weeks ago on Mastermind, doing very, very well. He got an OQL full house from Division 8. So definitely a real up and coming. Every week, Richard's in the headlines. Muffy Morocco and Chris Panulo both got full houses in OQL USA in Division 4. Imogen Murtagh and Tim Hall both got 12 out of 15 and 23 points overall. Jack Pollock got 13 out of 15 in him as well. Lovro Juricic won Squizzed in February, and Dan Burgess got 13 out of 15 in Pop Solos. So many great performances. Broadcast quizzing, well, we've just been talking about them. University College London, and nominated for winning University Challenge. I need to retype that. In quiz leagues, Broken Hearts won the Quiz League of London Division 1 last week. There's a couple of weeks to go, I think. But they are the champions, and that is the likes of Ian Bailey, Mark Grant, Olaf Bjortomt, Jack Wellsby, a very, very strong team. So well done to them. Quiz van der Rohe won the German team championship, breaking the R2S2 stranglehold, who they've won that title the last 3 years. From R2S2, Sebastian Klusman and Sebastian Jacobi won the German pairs. The Strangers beat the leaders of OQL Division 6A, so well done to them. The Zoomsbury group were the top scorers in OQL this week. In the Irish Quiz League, the Underdogs were top scorers. Quiz Nations Global, Cognoscenti Consiniti were the top scorers. They are from, I believe, the Australia region, the Asia-Pacific region. Rogers Smarties were the top scorers in Quiz Nations Portugal, and Islington were the top scorers in QLL President's Cup. You can vote for all of these now at tinyurl.com/QW26 Feb 24. Voting's open until Friday. Coming up, we've got our next Northeast quiz on the 31st of March. We haven't included the BSQC in here because you can't compete because you had to qualify. So you can't sign up for that, but you can sign up for the Mumbai Quiz Festival in March. Flames, which is an Indian online quiz, pop culture quiz that starts 18th of March. OQL have got their inaugural World Championships on 23rd of March, a written quiz. Celtic Nations are in Glasgow, 20th to 21st of April. Bundesliga's Summer Showdown in Delhi, 11th to 12th of May. And OQL Weekender in Blackpool, 26th to 28th of July. While you're here, Thomas, you attended Celtic Nations last year for the first time. What did you make of it?
Oh, it's brilliant. I loved it. I mean, certainly rather convenient then because it was in Cardiff and I could just get the train from my house, but generally one of the most fun quiz events I've ever participated in. Like, I would thoroughly recommend, like, if it's possible for you to attend this year and you qualify to play for the Scotland Wales Round, or even if you can gain, because hopefully there'll be another Cornish delegation this year. Go. It's one of the most fun things. I'm very sad that I won't be able to go because it's slap bang in the middle of finals revision for me this year. I don't think I can afford to take a weekender up to Glasgow.
But there will be many more opportunities to come.
There's also,
as a sort of honourable mention to we'd be remiss if we didn't mention, we had run a novice tournament up in York over the weekend, and despite being one man down, Warwick did manage to make the final. In the course of a very eventful 2-game final, they did end up losing to the University to a good Durham team, and continuing a guy called Angus Willis, who in his first ever Quiz Bowl tournament, as far as we're aware, managed to top score the field with a quite frankly obscene 77.5 points per game.
There's also Warwick's doing something.
Student pop culture. 9th of basically next weekend. I don't know when sign-ups close. Robert Corley's in charge of that. I should have actually asked him beforehand.
Yeah.
But we are hoping to run an open for non-students. Hopefully, UKQB haven't finalised what our timetable for the summer will be yet, but hopefully in mid-July. So keep an eye for that.
Well, if you keep us updated, we will gladly share all of those details for any tournament where people can apply. Then let us know and we'll include them whilst we are still doing Quizzy Mondays for the remainder of the series of the shows. We'll gladly put them here, but otherwise we'll put them out via our channels. And we love shining a light on people. We've got another comment here about Angus Willis destroyed on his first tournament.
She was the tournament director for that one.
Well, there you go. So, brilliant. We love to hear these things. If somebody wants to pop in a nomination for Angus for Quizzer of the Week for next week, obviously we weren't aware of that tournament, or for the team that won it, go to tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations, and next week they can be included in the nominees for Quizzer and Team of the Week. So that is it for this week. Oscar and Thomas, thank you again so much for coming on. Earlier we had Rob and Steve. We love it when people come on and give us their thoughts and their insights, their feedbacks. We love it also when Gerard reminds me that if you haven't already given tonight's show a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed, then please do so. Gerard's the only one who's given a thumbs up so far. So yes, please do like and subscribe. Helps other people like you to find us. We will be back next week. There will be another Mastermind semi-final. We don't know who our guests will be because we don't know until they release a photo of the semi-final.
I think they have released a photo because I did check.
Have they?
But he's not on next week. So
I will have a look at that. And likewise, University Challenge. We'll try and get some guests in.
Yeah,
and we will hopefully have
University Challenge will be by Bristol University. I think it's going to be
Open v Christchurch.
Oxford v Christchurch Oxford. Sorry, v Open. That's what.
Oh well, in which case we will definitely be trying to get some of our friends from Open back on because they are good fun. So we will be back next week, come what may. Don't forget to vote for What Is a Question at tinyurl.com/WITQ Apple. Don't forget to vote for Quizzer Team of the Week at tinyurl.com/QW 26 Feb 24. Don't forget lunchtime quiz time every day between 12 and 2 on Facebook and X. And, look out for those extra additional facts that we have. Best of luck to everybody competing in UK Quiz Bowls British Student Quiz Championship this time next week. We'll hopefully be able to tell you who won and have some nominees from that as well. So if somebody who's there can nominate team and quizzer, that would be great. Until next week, have a fantastic week of general life as well as fantastic quizzing, and we will see you again soon. Until then, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.